How was it like working with your friend? I mean, you said he's a good friend. How has this journey like affected the friendship, if it's been affected?
Right. I would say it's great. I mean, we've weathered through the past few years. In fact, we still catch up very often. I think every other month or so. Obviously, when I broke the news to him that I thought that it was time to leave. As a friend, naturally, there will be a certain amount of sadness involved for sure, right? Because you were hoping that you would stay throughout. But I think also there's also more practical perspectives that you need to look at. Okay, so I think probably I need to set the context here. So I left after 1 year of being in the startup. And it was quite simply because at that point in time, I had given myself a runway of 1 year. I wanted to see that, whatever I did, I wanted to be able to know that we are on the right track and we were in a position to launch a product as soon as possible. Because let's face it, resources are finite, right? A company can't possibly go on burning money for too long a period of time. So I think at that point in time, the tipping point was really the fact that we had ideas of how the product was going to be launched already. Marketing materials were up, a bottle design was up. But at the point in time when I was about to leave, we had many issues in terms of product quality and consistency. But I mean, the whole point about a beverage product is that it should taste the same whenever you produce it. And I think the thing about it being a novel product made from soy whey, no one's actually ever done research into it before, to actually use it as a food ingredient. That was something that stumbled us. We were not able to actually ensure that the product was consistent for every single batch that we produced. And I think for myself, the tipping point was that when I realized that, we had so many people that were just waiting to buy our product, but we had nothing to show for it. So at that point in time, I told my friend that I really felt that this was probably not the time to focus on the business side of things. We've already done a lot of great work, right? We've already built up the leads pool for potential places and people and institutions and companies that we want to sell the product to. But we simply didn't have a product to sell. So the conversation that I had with my friend was that this is probably something that we should revisit in the future once the R&D side of things has been settled, right? You are confident that your product is food safe, you're able to produce something that tastes exactly the same every single time you produce it. And then let's talk again. And I think at that point in time also there's also a certain emotional attachment in that I know that me staying on is of course another financial burden to the company, right? Like the longer you stay, of course, you're paying me to do marketing, sales and partnerships, but if I'm not able to deliver in that regard because our product is not ready, then the calculus at that point in time I felt wasn't right. So I think he definitely understood from where I was coming. We do need to rationalize our overheads, right? So I think it was a decision that although it was sad for us to see each other part in terms of a professional way, right? But of course we still maintain our relationship because I still believe in the product even to today. And he's still working on it, in fact. So I think it just so happens that, us as friends, we were able to weather through this so-called breakup in a very good way. I can't say that it's going to be the same for every single person out there because there is that saying, right? When it comes to money, sometimes it does ruin friendships. I'm very thankful that it didn't in my situation. So I think probably one takeaway here is that it's always double-edged sword. On one hand, I spoke earlier on about joining a startup and this person very well, how he ticks and all that. But that in itself could also prove to be a stumbling block, right? Especially when things go south. And on the other hand, if you are joining a startup where you don't know the co-founders on a personal level, then fine, there's no emotional baggage. So not one size fits all. I think I'm very thankful that the way things have panned out is that, things somehow came together eventually, right? I left the company on good terms. I'm still very good friends with my friend. We catch up from time to time. So every person's experience is different. But I think the key lesson here that I'd like to highlight is that, at the end of the day, you go into a situation, there's always going to be things that are gained and lost. So you do need to be mentally prepared for that eventuality. I mean, of course, when I joined the company, it's inevitable that at the back of your mind, you'll be thinking, okay, what happens if this really goes south, right? Am I willing to, risk the relationship that I have with my friend? Am I going to have any regrets in terms of the potential opportunity cost that I could have had if I were to have stayed on the HubSpot, for instance, gotten career progression and this sort of thing. So I think easier said than done, but it's really all about putting down all the respective things that are on the table that you might be putting up, you might be staking and foregoing when you join a startup, and making sure that you are able to live with all of these eventual consequences if the push comes to shove. If things really don't go well, these are things that you must be comfortable to live with